Hello, welcome to this presentation. My name is Sonny Angelo, and this presentation is called Speaking Tasks in the EFL Synchronous Class, Insights from Interactions Between Pairs. As an introduction to this topic, we can say that the purpose of learning a language is to communicate with others. Therefore, the provision of opportunities for social interaction in pair or group work is a requirement for their L2 development. Hence, the L2 is the object of learning, as well as a mediational tool for communication. Pair and small group activities are a common practice in face-to-face L2 classrooms, theoretically supported by psycholinguistic and sociocultural perspectives on L2 acquisition. Interactions allow learners to negotiate meaning and form, receive feedback, and produce modified outputs. Synchronous online teaching is an alternative to face-to-face learning in the classroom. However, the interaction patterns and practices that unfold in synchronous online sessions remain underexplored. Understanding how groups can collaborate and regulate their actions leads to important implications for ELT. This is promoting the favorable circumstances for group work, which can lead to language acquisition. The present study therefore seeks to describe the patterns of interaction in L2 synchronous learning. The objective of this study is to describe group mediation patterns among online English language learners, A2, while completing speaking tasks without the assistance of a teacher. In this section, I will give a brief overview of mediation and regulation in language learning, as they are fundamental topics of the model of analysis used in this study. So I will start with talking about mediation. The quality of cognitive development depends on the mediation of many variables, such as the learner's proficiency level, their motivation, their learning tools, etc. In other words, mediation takes place through the use of particular physical or cultural symbolic tools which learners regulate or modulate towards their own learning goals. Then mediation leads us to understand that second language learning implies much more than knowing about the language, but using the language as a mediational means that affects the messages received, learners' action, and their relationships among them and others. Mediation plays a critical role as it depends on how the individuals get involved in the mediational tools intervening in the process, as well as on how they use them for their own purposes. In the language classroom, students interact with technological devices, learning objects, and other learners by the means of cultural and social mediators, such as language in a variety of forms. Let's talk about regulation. It has been associated to strategic learning, by which learners take more control over their learning and consequently become more independent. It is control over behavior and thinking. This is to say, people enhance their ways of doing things through the use of mediational tools, physical, cultural, or symbolic. In the classroom, students exert control over their actions, such as their behavior, and their mediational tools, such as technological devices, books, and language, when they face language use difficulties to solve them. The regulation of groups implies three dimensions: the cognitive, the affective, and the social. Therefore, this study draws on the dimensions proposed to study this relation of the factors that mediate the conversations and the effect of this mediation in the process of regulation development. Now, group work can be defined as a common place for learners to use the target language in complex interaction, which goes far beyond communication, meaning that the group is the context where learners connect with each other because they share some common characteristics and at least one common goal. Group is therefore a group of language learners who collaborate for the attainment of their goals, a process in which diverse factors are mediated. It is a complex social system where cognitive activity takes place collaboratively to develop as a collective entity. The benefits of group work for language learning are to help learners construct meaning, engage in learning activity, appropriate new knowledge, recreate their own practices, and assume different roles. It is a tool to support understanding of the learning subject. It is a scaffolding procedure where learners support each other toward learner autonomy and to help learners in the development of team working skills, which are taught to build stronger interpersonal relationships. Group work seemed to be a relevant context for language learners to develop their team working skills and knowledge. The joint activity of these learners engaging in the group goal is critical. Now I want to tell you about the methodology that we use for this study. Well, about the procedure, the first step was to observe and record synchronous pair and group interactions. This happened using breakout rooms in Zoom during small group activities run entirely by students. Then, to transcribe the recordings by using the transcription software Sonny. And the last step was to analyze the recordings using the model of analysis proposed by Rico of 2016. The participants, well, we had 3 online pre-intermediate level classes of English as a foreign language at a public university in Mexico. Students had been placed in this course after a successful completion of the previous level class or based on their score on the university placement test. They are beginner learners of English A2 enrolled in an online English course. The 3 classes were taught by the same instructor who followed the same instructional goals and curriculum for these 3 classes. The researcher asked permission to be in the classes and recorded the individual sessions of the students. The corpus was 6 recordings of pair or group activities during synchronous sessions from April to May of 2022. The duration of these activities ranges from 3 to 20 minutes, as you can see it in the chart. And we have the numbers of students, the turns or that we could count, and the description of the task that it was the same for the 6 recordings. Now, to analyze the data that we collected, we used Rico's model of analysis. We analyzed the recordings, videos, and transcripts to identify and classify first regulation practices, cognitive regulation, affective and social, and then to identify and classify group mediation patterns. This is turn taking and decision making. The results that we could obtain were, as you can see, about task management regulation. We found 56 examples, and about regulation practices, we found that the most common regulation practice is social regulation, followed by affective regulation, and then we have cognitive regulation with 2 types, awareness raising and problem solving. In this graphic, you can observe that social regulation is the most common practice that we could observe in our data. Now let's talk about the most frequent regulation strategies. The most frequent strategy used was motivation, specifically laughter and expressions of motivation with 32 examples. Laughter and expressions of empathy demonstrate cohesiveness and empathy in the team. In the segment of conversation presented below, Anna starts the conversation by talking about her pets and how she lost them due to a recent breakout with her partner. The rest of the participants show cohesiveness and empathy by laughter. And Olga said, "Oh, have you owned a pet?" Anna, yes, I have owned 2 cats also, but now I don't have them because I have them when I was in a relationship, and then when we broke up, they stayed with the evil guy, and everyone laughs. The most second common strategy used by the students is task management regulation of the structure of participation with 30 examples. This is a way of regulating the participation within the teams, for example, by pointing at someone so that there can be an order when taking turns and more opportunities for the students to speak in a group activity. In our data, this regulation of participation can be done by using verbal or gesture actions. I can show you the video, but Valentina nods her head, so Isabel knows she can read the following question. We will only listen to the video.
Okay. The number 4 is how long have you known your best friend?
So when they all talk at the same time, Valentina nods her head, and Isabel starts asking the question because she has permission from Valentina. In the same activity, Valentina asks Isabel the same question she was asked by Anna, as they are supposed to ask and answer each other. In the task, Valentina manages the amount of participation of her classmates by asking, and when she's asked after answering, she immediately chooses the next person that have to answer the same or next question. Valentina said, "Oh, I have studied in this university before I studied business administration too for 3 years, but I was pregnant and how do you say me expulsaron?" Laughs. Speaker 1 and 3 look surprised. Vania, oh, Valentina, yes, and I lost not my job, my school, and I start again, and I started 1 year ago. And what about you, Vania? And the third most frequent strategy of regulation used by the students is collaboration, and specifically the use of humor to bond socially. We have 27 examples. According to Rico, laughter and humor is a tool for social bonding as a way of demonstrating that learners are cohering with the other members of the teams and they are making new friends and forming new relationships. During the tasks, the students tend to be creative when solving tasks, using humor to generate cohesiveness in the team. In the extract below, we can see a segment of the conversation where the students are discussing if they are married. Anna states that she's thankful for not being married. However, Eunice says that she's married by pointing at her husband. I can show you the video, but we can listen to it.
Have you ever gotten married?
Thanks God I haven't gotten married.
I'm married.
So she says I'm married, and she points at her husband, and that's when everyone laughs. And the fourth most common regulation practice used was collaboration, specifically the use of tag language and expressions of agreement. And this strategy includes the use of pause fillers like or expressions to show agreement like okay, yeah. These elements together serve as a strategy to maintain the social objective of the group work, which is to communicate. The following segment of conversation exemplifies how the participants show engagement and agreement in the conversation by the use of this strategy. Speaker 2, have you ever owned a pet? Speaker 1, yes, I have ever got a lot of pets, but at this time I have pet 2 cats. There's 4 here. There was 1, 2 cats, and you? Okay, I have ever got a pet. I have a French poodle. Okay, and a cat too, a little cat. I don't like dogs. I don't like dogs. They are very noisy. Aha, yes, they are very nice. I have a one when somebody knocks, etc. So students use a regulation practice problem solving and solving immediate problems to ask questions related to vocabulary, mainly to ask how to say something in English when they only know the word in Spanish. So for speaker 2, for example, it's super right, like I really like, but I am a traditional. My color always is the same color because I have a, how do you say canas? Speaker 1, speaker 1, white hair. Speaker 2, white, yes, but I don't like it. However, sometimes students don't provide assistance or prefer to skip the question. Speaker 2, I have studied in this university before. I studied business administration too for 3 years, but I was pregnant and I how do you say me expulsaron? Speaker 1 and 3 look surprised. Oh yes, and they didn't provide assistance to speaker 2. Or as we said, they skip the question as they do in this example. Lived, have you lived abroad? Have you ever lived abroad? But I don't know if it's lived or like abroad. It's like have you ever? It's lived. Yes, everyone laughs. The exercise that gestures with her hands. Aha, yes, everyone laughs. Life abroad is like move to another state or something like that. I don't know. I haven't read that thing before. Yes, abroad is en el extranjero. I don't know. Well, next question. Everyone laughs. They skip the question and they start a new question. Have you ever robbed a book? To the limitations of the video conference platform, Zoom, it is not possible that more than 2 students speak at the same time. When this happens, there is a moment of silence before one student decides to take the floor or regulates the participation of their classmates. This is known as take decision, as it is a regulation tool to help students to complete the task assigned. Speaker 1 says,
You look nice.
Oh, thank you very much, Valeria. And
And
what about you, Valeria? About your best friend?
well, I don't have so much friends.
Oh, really?
So when they do this, that they speak at the same time, as we can see, speaker two, she takes the floor and she asks the next question. Although it may be expected that pre-correction also occurs in group work, it is very uncommon to observe this in our data. This is only seen when the students ask their classmates for help, especially for unknown vocabulary, and these mistakes and correction are usually related to grammar or pronunciation mistakes, and it has been identified one instance where one mispronunciation was replicated by another student. Yes, I have. I have gone on a road trip, and it was really amazing. It was tired, but with good. Where are you gone? Not too far, but I can like road trip. So as we can see, we have a mistake in the question, a grammar mistake, and speaker two, he doesn't correct speaker one. And this is the example of mispronunciation.
How long have you been interested in your degree subject?
I have been interested since 2016 when I have a friend that is studied digital marketing. And he has a very good job, and he made me an introduction of the what is digital marketing, and because for him I decided to study this degree.
Okay, well, I have interested in journalism since 12 years ago when I started a fashion blog, and then a digital magazine called me to being a guest editor.
Okay, so as we can see, speaker one mispronounced since, and then speaker two, he pronounced it correctly, but he didn't correct speaker one. So they don't correct each other, even though they could do it. And I have another example.
Okay, okay, okay.
Well, yes.
Okay.
Have you ever owned a pet?
Yes, I have ever got a lot of pets, but at this time I have pet two cats. Yeah, there's more for here. I, there was one. Wow.
As we can see, speaker two mispronounced pets, and this is replicated by speaker one. And it is curious that this happened because speaker two is also supposed to be the stronger student, and as he's the stronger student, speaker one, who is a weak student, he tries to imitate speaker two. However, he also imitates the mistakes produced by speaker two. So now, as a discussion of the results, this research found that the most common regulation practices used by the students in this study are motivation, laughter and expressions of motivation, task management regulation, regulation of the structure of participation, collaboration, use of humor to bond socially, and collaboration, use of back language, and expressions of agreement. The only regulation practice that couldn't be found was metacognition. This is the identification of participants' needs, strengths, and weakness, sharing strategies to learn better, etc. This research noticed that nonverbal elements such as laughter serve as important elements when regulating affective control. Laughter in this study occurs 59 times, and the participants use it to increase cohesiveness and to add a climate of support. For many researchers, laughter is considered to be a manifestation of affective regulation. The regulatory practices related to task management have the purpose to help students to complete the activity. When deciding how to carry out the task, one student takes the role of regulator to assure the team can finish the task assigned and to make sure each person has the same number of opportunities to participate. This person organizes the proceedings and gives turns to the other speakers. This activity is normally done using imperatives by asking questions to specific people or by nonverbal gestures. This activity can be understood as an autonomous practice where students have to take control of their own behavior to fulfill the aim of the group. In order to explain these findings, attention was paid to the context where these interactions happen. Breakout rooms in Zoom can be opened or closed by the professor at any time. So students are aware of the limited amount of time they have to accomplish the assigned task. The use of humor is a manifestation of creativity and collaboration in the conversations of the study. To build humor, participants have to contribute and collaborate with each other. The function of humor in the study is related to the relief theory that states that laughing makes people feel safe and that they laugh to reduce tension and anxiety. Therefore, it can be implied that the use of humor and laughter in the conversations analyzed is a tool to reduce language anxiety and to build a safe environment to practice and use the L2. It should be noted that, similar to face-to-face interactions, in the interactions analyzed, it can be observed the use of pause fillers and expressions to show agreement. They help to keep the flow of the conversation and to show engagement. Students in this study use pause fillers of their L1 or L2, but this can be explained to their limited interaction with English native speakers. Previous research, like Rico's study, found that peer-to-peer feedback tends to occur when students ask for help, mainly because of a lack of vocabulary. However, when students don't ask for help to correct their own mistakes, these are not corrected by their classmates. The reasons can be twofold. The students may not notice their classmates' mistakes due to their limited language proficiency level, A1 or A2. Students may notice their classmates' mistakes but avoid to correct them, as this may be seen as impolite or they don't want to take the role of teacher in the group. The analysis of interaction also revealed that grammar or pronunciation mistakes made in the group by one student can be replicated by more students. In some of the observed interactions, types of students can be identified: strong and weak students. Strong students take control of task proceedings and regulate the participation of their classmates, and they can also be seen as the role models to be followed. As a consequence, when this type of students make one mistake, weak students can replicate it. The conclusions of this study are that the finding that learners control their group dynamics and make decisions while actively involved in the process of completing the task. Furthermore, learners exert control over their cognitive, social, and affective domains to provide support to each other during their communication, to reduce language anxiety, and to build a positive environment for language learning. Regarding the cognitive domain, students raised awareness on how on metalinguistic reflection, but didn't show awareness on metacognition. And as a result, they are able to resolve communication problems that may arise during interaction without the help of a teacher. Concerning the affective domain, it can be observed that students provide each other support in order to accomplish the task imposed by different means, such as showing encouragement or laughter. As regard the social regulation practices, it is possible to observe that students regulate their conversational practices to show engagement and use creativity and humor in order to bond socially. During group work without the assistance of a teacher, the learners try to show engagement with the conversation by displaying their cognitive, affective, and social abilities, which also play an important role in learning mediation. According to RICU, regulation in language learning is a systematic process involving a series of variables and elements, each of which play an important role in language learning. Regulation has been mainly researched in face-to-face environments, taking into consideration the necessity of learning about the process of regulatory activity in an online language learning context. This study offers a first insight in order to conceptualize regulation in such conditions. This research shows regulation practices in interactions that learners undertake in synchronous sessions. The information presented suggests English language teachers can empower students to help them make decisions and to assist them when it comes to conversing in the target language during group work in online learning environments. And finally, it should also be noted that since the present study focused on online beginner level learners and analyzed their performance and only one type of task, the results obtained cannot be generalized across task types or proficiency levels. An open issue for future research is how the number of participants may interact with task features and learner-related factors to influence the opportunities that peer interaction offers in collaborative speaking tasks. And these are my references. Thank you very much.